Oh, hello and welcome to a Wednesday night edition of the Cheese Room podcast. Going to be discussing our first game of the season and some transfer news update. I'm your host, unfortunately for you lot. To my right, I have a debutant on the Cheese Room, Ollie. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, James. How are you?
Good as ever. Hope you've been well.
I'm good, yeah. I've had a nice day.
Unfortunately, Ollie cannot partake in a beverage, but one man who certainly can partake in a beverage is my friend Owen. How are you, mate?
I'm amazing. Good evening, everyone.
Right, let's get this show on the road. So, we're going to start by talking about the starting lineup. I'll go to you first, Ollie.
Yeah.
Did you see it? And is this what you were kind of expecting?
Well, I wasn't expecting Skip to be. Well, pre-season, it's very hard to judge. But I did a stream the day before the game, and I did predict that Tanganga would play centre back with Romero, so I got that right. I'm a little bit surprised he went with Pedro Porro and Reguilon in the same back four, but I had no problem with it, to be honest, because I think both of them are capable of playing fullback. Because in my opinion, a wing back is a fullback. They all played fullback when they were coming up through the youth ranks, so had no problem with that. I was expecting maybe Sarr to start instead of Skip, but again, it's pre-season, isn't it? He changed a lot at half time, and was loving to see Basuma and Madison in the midfield. Solomon, obviously new signing to the club, and Kane, Kulusevski. Yeah, well, I was happy enough with the lineup, to be honest with you, for what pre-season is. But the only surprise was obviously playing Porro and Reguilon in the same back four. Maybe I thought he might have played Emerson instead of Porro.
Do you want to tell us about your channel real quick? Tell all the viewers.
Oh, my channel. Yeah, I have a channel called Van Football Vents. It's just me having a bit of fun, to be honest with you. I do most of me stuff in my van when I'm on my break in work. If there's something on my mind and I want to get it off my chest about Tottenham or about any type of football news, what's going on, I'll just do a video on my van and I'll get it out there. And I do try to do the odd live stream as well in my shed. So it's either in my van or in my shed. So live streams are good. Did one on Sunday with Mia from Spurs Between the Lines, and then I did one week before with my mate Gaz, who I went to school with. We just went through the top 6 teams in the Premier League and the teams what are actually trying to break into that top 6, and we just went through them all and making judgment on how we think they may do next season. But yeah, I'm enjoying doing the new channel. I'd if anyone's listening, I'd really appreciate if they subscribed. Anyway, it's check it out, Fan Football Events.
Right, thanks for telling us about that. Everyone go and subscribe and watch and leave a like. Anyway, Owen, what did you think about the lineup, especially Tanganga starting? Because that, for me, was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, it was different to what I was expecting. I thought it would be a more, Ange getting to know his players. I knew it would be slightly different to what most people would expect, but to the level of players that had just come back, people like Reggie had been injured for a long time. Tanganga hasn't had minutes in a very long time. It was much less conventional and standardized than what I'd expect, but it was a strong lineup, 100%, with players in roles that I think they've probably never played. People like Skip. Skip's never. In my memory, I can't think of Skip playing that advanced, and I think he did an all right job. It was different. It was experimental, and it was successful. So I think it constitutes well done to Ange for giving these players a shot, who I thought wouldn't even be in the tour. A few of them.
Yeah, I'd agree personally. I mean, talk about it being successful. Here are the stats from the match. I mean, it's like Barcelona versus Accrington Stanley, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, how can you argue with those numbers? Anyway, just to move on, there are a number of players absent. I think the dominant one that got me Because he was doing all the media stuff before the match. So, what did you think about Son and any of the absentees being absent, Ollie?
Yeah, like I wasn't expecting. Was Son even on the bench? He wasn't on the bench, was he?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't in
Yeah,
the squad.
I was very surprised that he was out, especially with it being in Australia. They a lot of the fans would have wanted to see him, but why he was out, I actually have no idea. Obviously, Dyer, I didn't care that he wasn't in the squad. I don't want him in a Tottenham shirt again, to be honest. Ndombele, yeah, I'm not sure why he wasn't in the squad. I would have liked
He
to have
picked
seen
up a
him, though.
knock.
Did he have a knock? Did he?
Picked up a knock. Yeah, he picked up a knock in the open training the day prior. Yeah, he's rolled his ankle or something while playing in open training.
Yeah.
So I think it was the consensus was he wasn't going to play start anyway. Either way.
I would have liked to have seen him. Jed Spence again. I can see him going out on loan because I think with Porro and Emerson there, I don't see how he gets much game time this season. So maybe he just wasn't in the squad because he isn't going to get game time. And yeah, Rodon maybe the same. He's probably going to be loaned out. Scarlett the same. And actually, I was surprised not to see Keeley in there because I was actually told I'm a lad who's in me supporters club is good friends with his dad. He's expected to get game time on this tour, so I was a little bit surprised not to see him on the bench. But
So
I reckon
he's a
he will be
goalkeeper, is he not?
Sorry.
He's a goalkeeper, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a goalkeeper. Yeah, they signed him from St. Pat's. That's I actually follow that club over here in Ireland, so
Oh
I'm
wow.
aware of Josh Keeley. He's a promising goalkeeper, but I was told that he will see some game time on this tour, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he
Yeah,
can do for Tottenham.
it's interesting because we still have uh, Brandon and Austin, don't we? Or Whiteman
Yeah,
and Austin, sorry, who have been at the club for it seems like my entire lifespan. And they seem
yeah.
to pop up in pre-season and kind of just linger. And
Oh, they're
yeah, it seems
24
to go
now.
the way. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me because one of them went on loan last season to Sweden. I think it was Whiteman
Yeah,
went on loan to Sweden and seemingly started a lot of games. Um, so I think the purpose of these players, getting preseason involvement and still being at the club is probably to fit a homegrown quota. Um, but it would be interesting to see, some youngsters. I mean, obviously we saw Divine, but we got faces like Scarlett and Keeley. I think there's probably a few more that went on the tour that I can't think of.
yeah. Well,
But yeah,
he said that he said that he was bringing everyone on the tour, regardless whether they're going or not, because while they're here, he's treating everybody the same. Because at the start, I was like a bit like, oh, why is he bringing everybody? Why is he bringing Sanchez? Why is he bringing certain players? But he did explain in his press conference, everyone's being treated the same up until something certain, and they are going. So that would explain some players being there. What is the point in being in there, really? But yeah, like you said about Whiteman and Austin, they're 24 now. Like, can you see a pathway for them to get into the team? Not really. So I would prefer to see Keeley than them two because Keeley's a lot younger and has obviously more time to force his way into Tottenham's plans.
I'd have to agree as well, personally. I mean, if you've been at the club since you were 16, you're 24 now, and you've never had a serious look in, I think, it's time to go to League One, isn't it?
Yeah.
For lack of a better phrase. Or League I mean, same quality of football, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on. So, about the game, I woke up, after about 5 hours sleep at 10 o'clock, head absolutely killing. Night out. Which
I missed that life.
if anyone's questioning why I just disappeared on the Monday night show, it's because I had a bus to get in 5 minutes, so I had to literally sprint out my house. But anyway, I digress. So I woke up. Oh yeah, we're playing today, aren't we? Oh, there's a stream going. Oh, I'll whack the game on my phone. Watching that. Oh, they scored. You think, oh, bloody classic Spurs that, eh? So I put it away when I did other stuff, but Then they scored again. Now, there was one thing I noticed about this, and I think Owen will agree. 2 headed conceded goals where it looked like under 13s football level marking. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, especially with the first goal where Danny Ings kind of bullied Reguilon to the point where Reguilon, even if he did jump, he had no idea where Ings was. There was no awareness, there was no marking. And it's the same problem that we've had for years, which is the most frustrating part. We've seen this time and time again. You can say the same with all 3 goals. It's problems that we've had for as long as I can remember, going back to Poch days. Actually, with the third goal, no, it's digressing a bit from the subject. I thought the third goal kind of proved something that actually could be important. The way the goal happened, obviously, Sanchez, I don't know how to put this, but did a Sanchez. And we're playing a high line. Obviously, it doesn't suit some players. Whether the players are good enough to play in or without a high line and in different systems, who knows? Everyone was given a shot. There was mistakes made, but it shows that when we switched to different players, the system was different. That goal we conceded in the second half, it showed a strength and a weakness. I mean, it shows where we need to improve, which Ange will probably love, because, showing where the weaknesses are, which at the end of the day is what pre-season's about. You're building the squad for a very, very long season. And it's probably showing the strength of actually playing the high line. Because, without an individual mistake in that position, and obviously I'm not going to name him, but said player needs to be replaced.
It's okay, you can name him.
Davinson. The Forbidden Colombian. Without a player of his in caliber, it shows that there's real possibility to kick on.
Yeah, would you agree with that assessment, Ollie? Because I very much thought that, conceding 2 goals early days from crosses. I mean, it's peak David Moyes, that, isn't it? To score 2 goals from crosses.
Yeah, here it was always going to happen with here. We've been a team who plays a low block and counter-attacking football for 4 years, and this was the first game where we have to change that around now, and we have to go front foot. Like you've all seen the clips of Bissouma and then Reguilon and Porro playing as inverted fullbacks in front of him, and then you've got the 5 players all attacking in one go. Like, that is completely different to what we've been doing. So there was always going to be mistakes and rustiness. Like, I know Reguilon got done for the first goal with Danny Ings. It was bad marking, but he has been injured for a year. He had a bad time at Atletico Madrid. He's had awful injury problems, but before Conte came in, he was a good left back. So I would keep him. I'd prefer him all day to Ben Davies, because if you think that's bad, Ben Davies is getting roasted at left back next season if he plays in that back four, 100%. So Reguilon, I reckon, I didn't get to watch the whole game because I was working, but from what I could hear, Reguilon was getting forward a lot and getting the crosses in, which is more than what obviously Ben Davies will do. So I reckon with time and a bit of, getting games on the trot, I think he will come good and get better. And obviously, Doggy's there to challenge him. So, yeah, he got done for the first goal. Second goal, it was a header between Zuma scored, didn't he? And Tanganga just got done. It was between Tanganga and Porro. Am I right? The second goal.
Yeah.
I think Tanganga. I think Zuma got in between Tanganga and Porro and headed it in. So
regarding that, the second goal was just a quality ball. And I think it's more the shape and the way the defence was set up. Of course, I don't think there was particularly an individual mistake for that. I think, actually, to contradict your point, Tanganga, I think, looked really assured. And I've always thought that he's a right back. He's a solid right back. You can remember performances against City and Liverpool, and when he's got a quality player running at him is when he's at his best. He's had some airs like Crystal Palace under Nuno. Don't know if anyone remembers that. That was one of the worst.
He got sent off. Yeah, he got sent off.
He attempted to bully Zaha and ended up getting sent off. I can't see him as a centre back. I think his probably best shot as a centre back was under Conte. At the right centre back kind of level, where he's pushing forward too, because I think he has a real strength in just bombing forward. I don't think centre back's the thing, but I think when he did play yesterday, he looked really assured, and it quite surprised me. Then there was defenders that didn't look up to par, as we've mentioned. Reggie looked.
The only thing I heard, here I didn't see the whole game, but what I heard about Tanganga though is that when he wasn't progressing the ball fast enough, the confidence wasn't there to get it into midfield quick, which you need to do in an Ange system. And what I was told is Bissouma had to keep on coming back and bring it out himself. But in an Ange system, the centre-backs need to get it out to midfield fast, and Tanganga just didn't have the confidence. And obviously here, he hasn't played a lot. He's had a season where he's been rotting on the bench, so maybe with time and game time, he might get some confidence back, because we all know that there is a good defender in there somewhere. We've seen it against Man City when he did play right back, like you said. But here, for this system to work, we all know we need the centre backs in. Romero is the only one at the moment who could possibly play that high line. The rest of them just can't cope with it.
Well, I'd have to say I broadly agree. Although unfortunately, you've said something that's blasphemy to me, claiming that Ben Davies isn't good enough. Now, if you've heard me talk about Ben Davies, he is the Welsh Maldini. And I will defend Ben Davies until I die. But
he's here. Don't get me wrong. He's been like a good professional. He's a steady. What Graham Souness said about Casemiro. He's a steady Eddie. But do you remember when before Conte came in? He was playing left back and he was getting absolutely roasted at left back. Roasted. He can't play left back. So now that we're playing a back four, he can't play centre back in the back four, and he can't play left back. I don't see a place for him in this Tottenham team anymore.
He's homegrown status, Premier League rules.
Oh yeah, the homegrown thing.
Not in FA, which is bizarre. But moving on in regards to defensive errors. Ange came out and he did something shocking, something I could have never expected of a manager. He didn't blame the players. He took responsibility and he said, it's my fault. We haven't worked on the defending that much. Now, what do you think about that, Owen? Because personally, I was shocked, right? It felt like winning the lottery.
It did. Honestly, it's so refreshing to have a manager that just feels authentic and doesn't want to throw everyone but himself under the bus. And funnily enough, John, I know you're still watching. John made a very, very valid tweet earlier today or yesterday about what he said. And I mean, you can tell the whole fan base was shocked. It's something that we're, as a fan base, we've been kind of torn away from managers, and the way Conte spoke and the way Jose spoke are very reserved, and they'd rather put blame on the players and the board than themselves. So when you've got someone like Ange coming in and going, you know what, we haven't had time to work on this. First game of pre-season, things will improve, and he basically confirms that a centre back is happening soon, and things that reassure us as fans is ridiculously refreshing, and something that I'm sure everyone can relate in. I've waited for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I'd completely agree. Are you on the same page on that, Ollie?
Yeah, all I can do is echo everything what Owen said. It was refreshing to hear. It was nice for him just to come out. Like, it's true. It's probably true as well. Like it's a complex system. I've actually just read a big thread on how he plays, and I got confused reading it. So, like, he's not going to be able to get it right in in a couple of weeks. Like, of course, he can't work on everything at this stage. So, yeah, it was good for him to come out and just say how it was. It's pre-season. It's trial and error. We shouldn't be taking the results too seriously. And and him coming out and saying that here we are in for a centre back as well. I like that as well, because every time Conte was asked questions about that, he wouldn't really give you a straight answer, would he? He would just say that is up to the club. That's what he would say, isn't it? So Ange just said, yeah, we're going to get some centre backs. We need them. Simple as, no bullshit.
Going from the depressed, moody kid at the back of the class to the guy who plays football and talks out how it is. It is quite refreshing, isn't it? It feels like we're not in an existentialist French artsy film from the 70s. But in regards to the style of play, we're going from a very structured, back three, very minimal rotations and movements, which are very easy to understand. You could probably teach it to an 11-year-old who plays football, to a significantly more dynamic system, a 3-5-2 that presses in a 4-4-2 that moves into a 4-3-3. There's a lot more going on, and to explain that to players, it's one thing understanding, okay, this is how it works, but then each player has to understand, oh, I need to fill this gap or this gap. It's going to take time. It's taking them time everywhere. And whilst I think that is the future of football, and I think, as we all agree, we looked a lot better, didn't we? It will take a little bit of time. So in the second half, there was a lot of substitutions. So, whole new team, as you often see in pre-season. Any substitution surprise you a little bit, Ollie?
Pre-season, so I suppose nothing can really surprise you who's brought on, because it's about giving people run outs and getting people fit and game fit. And like you said, he's treating everybody the same. But yeah, I was surprised to see Lo Celso come on and be so dominant with his. He made a great through ball pass to Richarlison, where Richarlison should have scored. Obviously, he scored a good volley finish, which here, as much as I criticise Sanchez, it was a good header. It was a good header to assist Lo Celso. That's the one thing Sanchez has. He's actually quite good in his attacking sense, isn't he? Like, aerially and getting heads in the opposite side of the pitch. So it was a good assist by Lo Celso. Perisic, as always, brilliant crosser of the ball. When he came on, it kind of, like, I had it in my head that, he's going to probably leave. But after seeing him come on, you know what? I wouldn't mind him staying. He just offers us something different, doesn't he? What we don't have. His crosses are just the world-class crosses. He just picks someone out all the time. But yeah, the subs didn't surprise me, but it did surprise me how Lo Celso looked so sharp, how Perisic came on, does what he does, and yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna ask both of you. Okay. Go to Owen first. Who was your standout from the first half, and who was the player you were most disappointed with?
All from the first half.
Yeah, just the first half.
Standout in the first half. It's got to be between. You know what? There's a few. I'd say, we weren't phenomenal in the first half. There's definitely an improvement on things we've seen. But, I'd say all areas of the pitch were good. So there's some. Yeah, you know what? Either Solomon, Basuma, or Porro, I thought, played their roles to a T, basically. Yeah, Solomon was absolutely awesome. He looks really lively, and what you'd want from a debutant new winger, someone that really came in on a free as a point to prove. It's exactly the kind of thing you want to see. Basuma played his role again to a T. He was brilliant. Exactly what everyone was expecting, what everyone wanted to see. And I thought Porro, I haven't seen many people talk about Porro over the game, but Porro was amazing. His balls in were great. Positionally, he was outstanding. He never really got caught out defensively. He did his job. And it's, again, what we spoke about on the podcast before, that if he plays almost more as a right winger and the defensive chores are kind of left to Basuma and the right kind of centre back popping in, if you're playing with a inverted right back and more of a back three going defensively, which in obviously first half was Reggie, Tanganga, Romero, and you leave all of it to Romero with Porro bombing forward, I think you've got something really good, some fundamentals to make things work. Disappointing. Like to pull up Kerry's comment about Decky putting in good balls, but they just weren't quite there, because I completely agree. I was so disappointed with Kulu. There's something about Kulu that just really doesn't sit right with me. It's almost predictable. You can always see what he's going to do. And, watching the opposition defend against him was like, you always know the outcome. He's either going to play it to Porro, which is always a good idea because Porro's got an amazing ball on him, or he's going to try and dribble on his left, and 9 out of 10 times he's going to lose the ball, which happened quite a few times. Again, he was relatively tidy, but something about his play is so predictable. And Kane as well. Kane was poor, really poor. And I don't think there's anything to blame from that. He didn't particularly get service the extent that he would probably like. He had some decent link-up play with Madders. He was quite disappointing.
Ollie, do you agree with that? Who's your standout from the first half?
Standout, obviously, Solomon did really well. Like was it the... he put in a great... Was it him who put in the ball to Kulusevski where it was saved on the near post? I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he was. He looked very sharp. Like it was great. Solomon, Madison, and Solomon, they were working in triangles. It was really good to see. I wasn't really disappointed in anyone because it was just so that you expect rustiness. But Kane obviously didn't do too much. Kulusevski's decision making was not great, but that move, for what I was happy about, was the move between Basuma and Madison, and then Kane just laid it off, and then Basuma had the through shot on goal, and he should have scored. That was really nice to see. There were some lovely pockets of play there, but just Solomon looked lively, and Basuma seemed to really thrive in that number 6 role. And Lincoln play with Madison. Yeah, it was good to see. It was just nice not to see low block rubbish football. It was a treat.
I will say, watching the game in my, I wouldn't say hungover, just headachy state. That was the first time I've enjoyed watching a game of Spurs in quite a long time. Yeah. I wasn't watching. I didn't continue to watch just because it's Spurs. I kept watching because I was actually enjoying the football, especially in the second half. So, moving on to the second half, you're 2-0 down. You think, classic. And then we get a goal. Giovanni Lo Celso. Do we want to talk about his performance for a little bit? Because I could talk a lot about his performance. And I think Owen wants to talk about his performance. So what did you make of it?
Anyone who's known me for a long period of time knows I've always been Gio's number 1 fan to some extent. I was the unfortunate guy who bought a Lo Celso shirt in 1920, and it was my only Spurs shirt for a while, so I had to wear it to games and got quite harsh things said to me, and it was over Twitter for a while. Yeah, I mean, I love Lo Celso. Gio is my fucking hero, man. If he kicks on, I'd love it, honestly. I was chuffed with his performance. He was man of the match by a long shot. Fit that role seamlessly. Linked up well with almost everyone, right ball every time, and it's exactly the profile that, for example, if Lo Celso is playing for, I don't know, Bayer Leverkusen or something, and he's playing at that level, he'd be the exact type of player from that kind of performance that we'd be going throw 60 mil at. So it's worth giving him a run. And I'm chuffed for him, and I hope he kicks on because he's been one of my favourite Spurs players for quite a few years for some reason.
So, Ollie, do you think that Giovanni Lo Celso, do you think he maybe has put his name in the hat to stay at Spurs this summer, whereas previously it looked like he was being sent off on a plane or just left in Australia?
Yeah, with that performance, he's done himself no harm. And with it, I don't know why, with especially Ndombele not being in the squad, I genuinely think that we're keeping one of them, either Ndombele or Lo Celso, and one of them's leaving. So I think it's a straight clash to see which one stays. And Lo Celso's come on, like I said, from what I've seen of the game, he put in that lovely through ball to Richarlison. He a lovely finish from Sanchez's header. He did what he had to do, but the only thing with Lo Celso is that he has to try and stay fit. He's injury prone. I remember him against when Jose was there. He was like one of our best players, and then he got injured and just couldn't get back from that. Like he just struggles with injuries. He missed the World Cup as well, didn't he? Through an injury.
Yeah.
Would have been a World Cup winner now if it wasn't for that. So yeah, there is some talk about his attitude as well. I heard a rumor that he isn't really liked around the club. They reckon he's like a bit of a weirdo or something. I don't know where. I think I heard that from Ali Gold. Maybe I've misunderstood, but apparently he's not very popular in the dressing room. But here, when he's on it, he's a very good player. But whether he can stay fit, and at the moment, you'd have to put him ahead of Ndombele in that pecking order because Ndombele hasn't played and hasn't shown what he can do yet.
Yeah, I think a lot of the rumours about him came out after he left out on loan, which seemed a bit,
it was really weird.
Talking behind backs almost.
Yeah, it's like, we're glad he's gone. He's a weirdo.
I can't stand that guy. But, and I've said some harsh things about Tonki Ndombele, particularly on my 19th birthday when he put in that performance against Morecambe, but I digress. He is, in my view, probably more naturally talented. Probably the most naturally talented midfielder we have. But if he can't put the performances on the table, and Lo Celso can, you keep Lo Celso because he's the only midfielder we have who can really do what he does. I say maybe bar Maddison.
Would you lean towards Lo Celso at the moment? If it was a straight between Ndombele and Lo Celso, would you pick Lo Celso?
Well, definitely. I mean, even if Ndombele put in some solid performances, there's questions over his attitude, more significant questions. And also, he's on £200,000 a week and Lo Celso's on about 80, I think, or at least half of what Ndombele is. So you look at that from a purely pragmatic, utilitarian perspective. I go, well, I'm going to keep the guy who's actually put in pretty solid performances and has played football, whereas Ndombele couldn't get 90 minutes of football in Italy, which is an easy league to play in. So, I don't know if Ndombele has the fitness to, regardless of injury, play 90 minutes of football under Ange. I mean, if we can't shift either of them, I'm happy for Ndombele to sit on the bench and be an impact sub, but you'd hope from a £60 million player who's going to have cost us £120 million by the time his contract's up, you'd be a little bit more than an impact player because we're not Man United and we don't sign players for rubbish. Anyway.
I think I'm with you there.
Anyway, Lo Celso, certainly a positive in my view. First half, Solomon looked tremendous, actually. Way better than I expected him to. He's certainly better than Lucas Moura, so that's a win. Anyway, we got the second goal. We got the equaliser. It was Destiny who scored it. A fine header. I thought he had a pretty good impact and a pretty good second half. What do you think, Owen?
Yeah, I think he was good. That header was beautiful. But no, I think he played a really unique role and something that we didn't particularly see from Reggie in the first half, which was that real inverted fullback that he's always talking about. He'd pop up in the half space on the box, which is kind of irregular from a fullback. and he linked up really well with Perisic. He put some good balls, some really good balls in. And he made a real impact. He's good in the air, and I think that left-hand side's absolutely improved just from Udogi's presence. It's no disrespect to Perisic because he played well. And again, he did what you'd expect him to. He put good balls in, and just did that over and over again. He was good. He was very, very promising.
I think that's the first time since maybe, and I'm going to sound a bit crazy here, since Walker, that I've seen a fullback performance that genuinely made me excited when he got the ball. Would you agree, Ollie? What do you take away from his performance?
I'll be completely honest. I actually only seen his headed goal. That's the only thing I've seen him do. But I have seen him a few times play for Udinese last season, and he does look like he could be a very good fullback, and he's tall as well. Good tall goal pace. He's more than capable of being a top left back for us for many years. I read an article about him today actually, and he did make sure to say that he was a left back coming through the ranks. Not a left wing back. So anybody who has any doubts about that, don't, because he's a left back. He's just been playing left wing back for Udinese. So yeah, I'm excited about him. Him and Reguilon, I think, will be a good matchup to fight for that position next season.
There was he had a run down the left side where he beat a few players. Anyone saw that? Yeah, I wouldn't quite say it was Bale at the San Siro-esque, although glimpses of that. Although no one will ever get close to the greatest football player of all time.
That's what you want to see, though. For ages, we've been seeing our fullbacks like go forward a little bit, not take on the player, cut in and pass it sideways.
Ryan Sessegnon's famous step forward a little bit, get scared and pass it back to Eric Dyer or Longley. Or
exactly.
Emerson Royale's famous just pass it to Højbjerg. It is refreshing to see a fullback go, no, I'm quicker than you, I'm stronger than you, I'm going past you. And that's what you need in an Ange system. That's what you need in any system.
And we'll get that with Udogi, Reguilon, and Porro. They will take on the player, and I think Emerson will as well eventually. Like he did learn to be brave in the end. So yeah, I'm happy enough with them four.
Yeah, same. I think they are very good fullback options. So anyway, we can see that. Let's not talk about that. Overall, the performance, because obviously we didn't get the result. But purely looking at the performance, now 72% of the ball, 32 attempts at goal, shots, 13 shots on target, 7. I don't know what that means. 12 shots blocked. Now they scored 3 times with 4 shots on target, so they got lucky. But you look at those stats, that's overwhelming. That's exactly the kind of performance you want to see, isn't it, Ollie?
Yeah, even David Moyes admitted that they were lucky. They just said we defended well and we took our chances. So even he was a bit put back. Oh my God, they dominated us so much. So yeah, them stats just speak for themselves. Do you like 20? Was it 13 shots on goal? Do you remember when we went 3 games without having a shot on target under Nuno? So this is what we're in for next season. Lots of shots on target. So yeah, no, it's great to see. And imagine what it's going to be like when it works and when we have them centre-backs who can actually get back and play that high line. It's going to be a joy to watch. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more Ange ball.
Yeah. Yes. I will say, Ange is the guy who, in a pre-season tour in Japan, when City went there, City played a full-strength squad under Pep Guardiola. Ange is Japanese team, which no disrespect to them, don't have the caliber of player of Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, and David Silva. Ange's team had more of the ball than Pep's City team. That's ridiculous to me. But Owen, did you? I won't ask if you enjoyed it, but do you think that kind of performance and those statistics is so telling, and the kind of performance that we can hope to look forward to?
Yeah, I think if we continue to play like that and really kick on, start building a squad that constitutes success this season. And, you know, from those stats, you can see. So we've conceded 4 shots on target, and we conceded 3 goals. So when you've sorted out the centre back problems, right? And we're still getting 13 shots on target with the attackers and midfielders that we have currently. We're going to be a force, really a force. When we nullify that 3 shots on target, and keep in mind these weren't amazing chances. These are defensive errors mostly. We had Reggie being unable to mark in the first half. Second goal was a great goal, in fairness, and the third goal was a Sanchez special. So when you nullify that, when you get rid of the root of where we failed yesterday, and you have the fundamentals that Ange was building on, you've got a real great team, which I'm absolutely looking forward to. Honestly, after watching that yesterday, I haven't been so excited about watching my football since we beat Arsenal under Conte.
Yeah,
which was a long time ago.
I'd have to agree with Kerry's comment here. Unfortunately, it's not the cool Kerry King of the band Slayer, unfortunately, but Kerry's still happens to agree with me a lot. So, in my opinion, they're obviously very knowledgeable about football. And this as well, I said it on the watch along, which if you want to watch 5 blokes, some of which are a bit drunk, and me kind of hungover and still a bit drunk, can watch the match and go off on random tangents about breadsticks. Please do watch that and leave a like. It's probably quite entertaining. Anyway, I summarised it quite succinctly, which is rare for me, I must admit, in that I've never seen us play so well but finish so poorly. And that game was very reminiscent to me. We could have scored 8 or 9 goals, but Richarlison seemed allergic to scoring. He was getting in the right areas consistently, good movement, but he could just never seem to get his shot on target. Now, why do we think that is? Do we think it's bad luck? Do we think it's lack of confidence? What do you think, Ollie?
Me? I think that I think it's because Harry Kane's at the club. I think that he just knows that he's never going to be number 1 striker as long as he's there, and I think it's playing with his confidence. He just he's always getting marked offside. He can't keep an offside. And then when he is onside, the goals still get ruled offside against Forest. He can't catch a break. But yeah, it was the first game. There is going to be rustiness there. Like Basuma's finish wasn't great. Kulusevski should have probably done better with his shot. But with Richarlison, we know that this was last season as well. He wasn't prolific in front of goal. He was missing chances. I was actually at the Bournemouth game when. Do you remember when we were going for that corner and Richarlison hit that header? I was behind the goal and it just went wide, and it was just before Bournemouth went and scored at the other end. So, yeah, the confidence isn't there. I think he needs to know that, for Brazil, he knows he's the main man. And I think that's what he needs. He needs to be told, you're the main man, you're starting up front, you're number 9. And I think possibly then we'll see a more confident Richarlison. But that comes at a massive price. Harry Kane will leave, so maybe we don't not want that,
Well, that's an interesting point, because actually we see this with a lot of players, right? South American players, but a lot of players, they seem much more confident for their national team. An example of this is every Welsh football player ever is better when they play for Wales than for their clubs. I mean, Joe Allen looks like a world-class midfielder at times for Wales, but he played for Stoke. Welsh Perlo, he is the Welsh Perlo.
He was a good player Joe Allen was a good player when he was at Liverpool though, as well. Yeah. And I think he was at Swansea before it. But yeah, I've seen Joe Rodon do very well for Wales. I remember them playing in that watching him and Davis playing a back three, and they do. Obviously, when you're playing for your country, I suppose you get maybe more adrenaline, and I don't know. I can't explain it.
Yeah, well, certainly, because that seems to be the case for Richarlison, right? And even Romero to some extent, right?
Yeah.
He looks so much more calm playing for Argentina, which
and
you
Lo
think would
Celso.
be the opposite. Yeah, same for Lo Celso. He looks like a top-class, world-class midfielder, which I think is in him. But for Richarlison specifically, he's not the biggest name in that Brazil team. He's playing with Neymar, right? Who's
Yeah.
like the godchild in Brazil. He's like the golden boy. Yet he seems to have the confidence of being Lionel Messi playing for, Bognor Regis, right? So I don't know what it is. Should he, have some Brazil, themed like boxers on under his shorts, would that boost his confidence a little bit?
I think Richarlison just needs a run of games either in the centre or on the left, because I noticed last season he did get a run of games on the right hand side, but he isn't effective on the right hand side. Like when he was at Everton, he got most of his goals either when he was on the left or in the centre, and then towards I think it was around about February time, he did get a couple of games on the left, and even though he wasn't scoring, he was playing well. I noticed he played very well against that win against Chelsea in February, and he was starting to kind of get some confidence, and you could see it coming. And then he got injured again. And that was it. So he never got a run of games on the left or in the centre. So, it's just a shit season for him last season. Even he said it was a shit season. So hopefully this season will be different for him.
Yeah. Do you agree with that, Owen? Because to me, it does just seem like a bit of lack of confidence. That first goal goes in and it all gets better.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm still a little bit angry after after witnessing fluff about 73 chances yesterday, pre-season or not. A little bit too passionate at times. And I got very, very frustrated because some of the chances were quite easy. And, he's a player that we spent, it's a huge investment in the club. And it's not someone who was brought to replace Kane. It was someone who was brought to play with him. So, that pressure or not, there's an expectation. I've seen a lot of Spurs fans defend him. I've seen a lot be way too harsh on him. I just think with performances like yesterday and last season and scoring 3 goals in 35 games, it just isn't acceptable, not only from a Tottenham perspective, but even a Premier League perspective. I was really frustrated because he's a player that I actually quite liked Everton. I know everyone hated him, but I thought he was quite old school and he had a charm about him. Seeing him fail so miserably has been difficult to watch at times, and I hope he cracks on really and becomes the player we all know is in him.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, so I think we all agree, and I think everyone agrees. Very positive performance, some standouts, some surprises, even in Giovanni Lo Celso, and Destiny in particular. Anyway, moving on to a little bit of transfer speculation, because I know everyone watching loves a cheeky bit of transfer speculation. It's like getting a pint for free. If you don't drink, well, that's unfortunate. You can't relate. So, looks like we're signing this bloke called Ashley Phillips from Blackburn for around $3 million. Understand it won't affect Spurs' plans to try and sign at least one senior centre-back, likely Mickey. Presumably that comes with a van. And he's expected to have a medical in the next 24 hours before hopefully joining the tour in Australia, then Singapore. Now, this has very much come out of nowhere, and I'm not expecting either of you to be experts on him, but I'll go to you first, Owen. What do you know about him?
We've been linked with him since he was prepubescent. I think this has to be. We've been linked with him since Jose. I think I remember January 2020, before we bought Rodon. We were quite happily linked with him when he was like 14, 15. He's always been very highly rated. I mean, he's tall. extremely tall for his age, and he's only going to grow. He's fast. He plays the ball well, in limited minutes and experience. I think he has made an appearance or two for Blackburn, which I haven't seen. But youth league, obviously Blackburn are playing at quite a high level in the youth divisions, and he's looked really good. And again, it's someone that I don't think it's only us that have been chasing him. I think quite a few clubs have been sniffing around him for years. He looks good. He looks really, really good. And it's one of those signings where, you've got to hope it's not going to turn out to be a road on, where he, gets kind of a couple appearances, loaned out, throws out, etc. Hopefully he goes into the academy, he'll have a pre-season with us, hopefully rack up 30 minutes or something, show us what he can do, go spend this, a season with our youth team, build a partnership with Dorrington. It's going to be our new Dawson Ledley King partnership, and come back in 5 years when he's ready to win us the league.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have any thoughts on him, Ollie, at all?
Yeah, like I never heard of him up until yesterday. The first thing I did was text me mate who follows Blackburn, going, "Who is he?" And he wrote back saying he's only made a couple of appearances for us, but he does look like a promising young talent. And the only reason we're getting him for so cheap is because Blackburn have financial problems. So maybe we'd have to pay more money for him. Otherwise, he made 8 appearances for Blackburn last season. He started 5 games though, so for an 18-year-old starting 5 games at that level, it is good. And Blackburn, they're not like, they did finish 7th in the championship last season, or 8th. They just missed out on the playoffs. So, he started 5 games for him. I don't know if that was in the league or in the cups, but yeah, like Owen said, get him in, get him playing with Alfie Dorrington in the underage teams, and maybe we have a future partnership there. And like it said in the Athletic today, I read it, that it isn't going to impact us signing 2 senior centre backs as well. So here it's nothing but a positive. We're signing a good young player who's tall. We need a tall player after seeing what happened yesterday as well. It's being done aerially, So yeah, that's all I can really say on him.
Yeah, I have to say I echo the same sentiments. I will say though, I'm just imagining what Davo's thinking. Financial difficulties, cheap signing, classic Levy, in account, cheap option, not good enough. It's okay, Davo, I got you on this one. But he hasn't played a lot of football, but and I'm sure for some people's narrative annoyance, it doesn't seem like it's going to impact our signing of a first choice centre back. It's just a long-term sensible.
You know what?
Upside.
At first, I thought it was. I read the article wrong, and I thought that this was, we've signed him, and we're definitely going to sign one more senior centre back. I just read it wrong, and I actually sent out a tweet going, "This, we can't be doing this." And then I read it, and I screenshotted the article, and they've gone, "My bad, sorry, I actually just read it wrong. It said that we're going to sign 2 centre backs and him." So I was like, okay, that's fine. So even I jumped the gun there.
You've put away the banner and you're not going to process outside the club shop. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. I put it away, put it
in the back of the van.
Yeah.
Hide it.
That's it. It's there ready though for the next one.
I'm sure Davo would be very pleased to hear that. So also, it looks like there's a second, it's gone a bit quiet around Mickey. Sorry, I won't call him by his proper name. The fact his first name's Mickey's hilarious, and there has to be a charm if he joins us. And Tabsoba, I can't pronounce his name properly. Tabsoba. I apologise to many people. But of the two, because I don't think I've heard either of your takes on him, Owen, of the two, money is irrelevant. Which would you rather sign?
Probably unpopular among most fans, but probably Van de Ven or Mickey. No, I think he's probably a better profile, for what we need. Left-sided, can play as kind of left back if you've got Porro bombing forward as a kind of right winger almost, rather than a right back. When you out of possession, you move to a back three. He's great on the ball. His recovery is ridiculous. He's got that Kyle Walker ability to kind of get himself out of trouble with his pace, which is amazing. It's something I think we sorely lacked, especially in our defence. It's quite lethargic. So yeah, I think I'd prefer Van de Ven. He looks good. Tapsoba is statistically, he's older, he's going into his prime, he's a better defender probably, but I think he's going to be a Romero kind of player. He's in Romero's position. He's going to demand to play every game. To be fair, I don't know as much about Tapsoba as I do Van de Ven. I don't know how progressive he is, but I think from everything I've seen, Van de Ven just looks the real deal.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Also, the fact that we'd have a guy we could call Big Mick is just reason enough to sign him. Although I have just been sent by my father, John of the Cheese Room, notably less handsome than me, has just sent me information regarding from an ITK, so take it with a grain of salt the size of Westminster. That there's a key meeting for Tapsoba within the next 48 hours. We make it clear this is the offer, the one to make both him and Mickey possible. If they reject, we'll make a second of 40 million euros. If they reject, we'll trigger on Mickey for 30 million. So it does seem like there's movement in our first choice centre back area. What do you make of that, Ollie?
Yeah, there was an update. Like, obviously, what was it? Not this Monday, but the Monday before, Romano put out a tweet saying that the agreement is close between both clubs, and it's pretty much nearly done. We was probably expecting a here we go after that, but then it all went quiet. But then on Monday night, when I was doing a stream, Romano did give an update, and he kind of gave a indication that we've pretty much agreed a deal for Van de Ven, but we're holding off because we're trying to get Tapsoba done. And seeing he made out that Tapsoba is our first choice out of the two, which obviously it'd be great to get them both. If I was to pick between the two, I'll be honest, I've seen Tapsoba play for Bayer Leverkusen in the Europa League. I actually haven't seen Van de Ven play. I can only go by with what I've heard. Obviously, he's the Dutch under-21 captain, so he obviously has a high ceiling. Like Owen says, he's left-footed. He probably gives Vertonghen vibes. Like, he's probably a classy defender who can play out well from the back. But the reason why I'd probably lean towards Tapsoba is because Tapsoba is probably better. He's from what I've seen of him, he's dominant in the air. He's physically more better than Van de Ven. I've heard that Liverpool actually pulled out of going for Van de Ven at the moment because they're worried about his physical capabilities to cope in the Premier League. Now, obviously, he's only young. He can learn these things, but that's just something what I heard, like that they had these doubts over him. So based on just what I heard, which could be bullshit, I probably would lean towards Tapsoba just because I've seen him. He's more physically he's physically good in the air, and I think we need that because we've got a lot of small players in our team at the moment. And I know he's right-footed, but he can play out on the left. He can use his left foot fine. So
he's more versatile. If anyone was wondering what I was just doing there, I wasn't doing anything suggestive. I was shaking my keyboard because I spilled beer on it to get the beer out of it. That is what was happening. I apologize if anyone thought something else was going on, but I'm sure someone's going to clip that and put it all over Twitter. So thank you very much to whoever does that. Pardon?
I want them both anyway. Definitely.
I'd have to agree because I'm quite happy to throw Eric Dyer's passport into the ocean and just unfortunately forget him in the hotel, and Davinson Sanchez, probably the worst thing to come out of Colombian football in a while. Yeah. Although, to quote my dad, and I'm going to keep bringing this up, in his first season, he said we'll probably sell him to Real Madrid or Barcelona for like 60 million in a few years' time.
Speaks volumes that these Saudi clubs haven't come in for Dyer. or Sanchez, it just speaks volumes that they haven't come in, because it just goes to show how poor these defenders are.
I
Nobody
think they
wants.
cut his hand off after watching him play 3 times.
I don't know if that's what it speaks volumes about, but I think it speaks volumes about the running of other football clubs. But let's not go into that too much, shall we? But yes, definitely. I mean, I don't think Eric Dyer would get a game at Portsmouth, right?
Yeah, exactly.
My local
Like,
team.
it's just Saudi are buying every player under the sun, but they don't want Arab at Deadwood.
Well, I've actually had an offer to go play in Saudi Arabia for 50 grand a week, funnily
Yeah.
enough. So, you know, they'll take anyone these days. But so, in regards to the rest of our squad, let's say hypothetically, we get this bloke in from Blackburn, we get in Mickey or Tapsoba, right? What else do you think needs to happen to the squad in terms of who would be your top 3 outgoings and another 1 or 2 signings? Owen.
I think that's a difficult one. Because I think you need 2 centre-backs, but has to be realistic at the end of the day. So I think to constitute a good rest of the window, I think obviously everything's depending on departures, but I think say the squad stays the same it is now, with maybe a departure or 2 of a lesser player who wasn't going to play much. I think a centre back and probably a centre midfielder would be a good window. And regarding the exit of players, I mean, I think I've got a full hit list of people that need to go. But again, it's, you know, I want to wait out this pre-season and as Ange's doing, give everyone a shot. Because, I mean, I've already been proved wrong by a few players yesterday. There's some players that I knew weren't going to be up for it. I mean, I'm still very uncertain about Reggie and a couple other players. I think we're going to have to go the one on loan. I think Rodon's never going to be up to, well, maybe Premier League standard, but never Tottenham standards. You know, it's still time to be cautious about Spence. He could go. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything about departures until pre-season's done and you've seen everyone play some, you know, proper football.
Okay, that's an excellent, diplomatic answer. If your career of choice fails you, may I suggest the civil service? Ollie, if you had to pick 2 outgoings from the squad, like bye.
You gave Owen 3 outgoings.
Okay, 3 outgoings, or as many as you like. Name your outgoings, mate.
Well, if I'm only allowed 3, I'd go Dyer, Davis, Sanchez straight away. It's easy, just get them 3 out. And if I'm given a 4th, Sessegnon, them 4, just get them gone. And then the rest of them, I'm willing to maybe, you know, give them a chance, like Owen said, see how pre-season goes, see if they can prove themselves. I'm all for that, but them 4 players, I have no chances for them. I want them gone.
Can I? Okay, no, I do agree. Aside from Ben Davies, I think he's perfectly serviceable.
Yeah.
And realistically, we're not going to get rid of all those players. Because
no, we're not. I did just if I was to pick, yeah, that's who I'd
the
go
interesting thing is neither of you said the obvious elephant in the room, the French elephant, Hugo Lloris.
Oh yeah, I didn't include him because he's going anyway. He's gone.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because he's the only active Spurs player I have a photo with, and he was very nice to me, my dad. But
great professional. You know, he's been a great servant to the club. It's just the he just stayed too long, didn't he? You know, he just deteriorated. The deterioration last season was, I don't think any of us expected it to be that bad. You know, because when we were in the run up to the Champions League under Conte, he was putting in some decent performances, and then last season he just couldn't do it. Just kept on making mistakes. Unfortunately, sad to see.
And as I think even if he'd put in decent performances, I think he'd be on the way out. I mean, Ange wants a keeper that can play with the ball. No jokes, please. And Hugo Lloris, I don't think I'm the only one who says every time I saw Hugo Lloris try to play it short, I kind of shit myself a little bit. It was terrifying. Whereas Vicario had a few moments where I went, ooh, but he looks much more assured on the ball than Hugo Lloris, which, to be fair, isn't difficult. Steve from the local pub would be more assured on the ball than Hugo Lloris. But anyway, so even if we're looking at one or two incomings defensively, let's say hypothetically, we get this young lad in, we get Mickey, we get Tapsoba, okay?
Okay.
What else would we need to do for it to be, in your views, a 10 out of 10 window in terms of incoming players? Ollie?
Well, obviously, like you said, we get these two centre-backs, we get Mickey and Tapsoba would be perfect. And then if I was to add a cherry on top, I would say get a monster of a number 6 in. Just because we don't know for sure if Basuma can play that 6 role. Obviously, Ange thinks he does, and I think, let's see how it goes. But I wouldn't mind getting, just to challenge him or make sure if it doesn't work out, get a proven number 6 in, maybe even if we got someone like Lavia in from Southampton. I know we're not going to get him, but just a good number 6. But I don't think midfield is massive priority, but centre backs are. But if you were to add something, maybe another midfielder who can play a number 6 role.
Yeah, Owen, what would make this transfer window a 10 out of 10 for you?
It's kind of difficult because I'm actually quite happy with the window so far. Obviously, a 10 out of 10 would be 2 centre backs, I think, and another midfielder, depending on departures. But I think the 2 centre backs, again, is never going to happen without departures. But regardless of who leaves, has to happen. It won't. There's no way. It's unfeasible that the club will buy 2 centre backs, especially young and very expensive centre backs like Tapsoba and Van de Ven. We're talking like 80 mil for the 2 of them, which just historically the club won't do, especially after splashing 40 mil on Maddison. We just, after not qualifying for the Champions League, we're not going to have that kind of money. So I think to constitute a 10 out of 10, you need 2 centre backs really. But you know what? A 9 out of 10 would be 1 solid centre back, and depending on departures, possibly more. But you never know until someone leaves, really. So it's especially if you know who leaves, it'd be impossible to say what would be a 10 out of 10.
Can I actually change my mind? As much as I would actually like a number 6, but if I actually, to give it a 9 out of 10 from what we've done, actually 3 centre-backs and the young fella coming in. 3. Because let's face it, even if we bring in 2 and Romero, that's 3 good centre-backs. We're 2 injuries away from having to play Dyer and Sanchez and Tanganga again. We can't trust any of these at the moment, really, can we? So I know it ain't going to happen. This is like fantasy land, but if you were to have a 9 or a 10 out of 10 window, get 3 centre-backs in, get Tapsoba, get Van de Ven, even get that Fulham defender, what we've been linked with, to challenge them. And then, obviously, Ashley Phillips from Blackburn. We need as much centre-backs as possible. We need to ship as the ones we have out, but obviously, in realistic terms, it isn't going to happen.
Yeah, I'd have to. I agree broadly. I mean, I think in the 6th role, I'd hope Basuma can step in and Højbjerg can sit on the bench and play against Tranmere Rovers or something in that role. He was good enough to be Pep's rotation option. I certainly don't want him playing 50 games a season, but can he do 10 games a season and be not dreadful? Yeah, probably. I mean, we're not going to have 22 world-class players. Anyway, moving on. So these are the rest of our upcoming friendlies. If you want to watch, those are UK time. Our next game is this Sunday, 11 o'clock against Leicester, and I will probably be way too hungover to watch that. So I'm sure one of the more educated and learned members of the Cheese Room podcast, or perhaps Ollie himself on his channel, will be able to provide some tremendous insight into that. Then we play Roma in the Singapore National Stadium. I believe we're also playing a Singaporean side at some point.
Isn't the Roma game cancelled?
Is it?
Yeah, it's replaced. It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's replaced. It's the same time slot. It's just a Singaporean side in a different stadium, I think.
Okay. Well, I you sent me the slide, so it's not my fault, is it? Anyway. Okay. Well, the time still stands. If you want to watch that game, 12:30 on a Wednesday. If you're not at work, or pop it up on your other monitor. Try to get away with it. Or have the commentary in the background. Anyway. Then we, I believe, play Barcelona away, and then we play Shakhtar Donetsk at the Spurs Stadium, which I think they're selling tickets for, so maybe you'd be able to go to that. But, these friendlies look like a pretty solid list. Playing Leicester, Premier League side, West Ham, a Premier League side, unfortunately. I don't know the quality of Singaporean football. Barcelona and Shakhtar Donetsk. These aren't a bad set. Yeah, the Barcelona game is on the 9th. It's right before our season starts. These are a competitive set of friendlies, wouldn't you say, Owen?
Yeah, there's going to be some really interesting games. We haven't played Barca in a good few years, so I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, the game against Shakhtar was for a brilliant cause, and so I tried my best to get tickets for that. Unfortunately, I couldn't. But yeah. These games are going to be interesting, and they're actually competitive for the most part. So it's telling for the players not only to get good fitness, but to really show what they can do at a high level.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Do you agree, Ollie? I think there's definitely a benefit in having more competitive, friendly fixtures as opposed to going and playing, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a terrible team off the top of my head, Strasbourg FC.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at the actual plan there, like West Ham was the first game, and then we agreed to play Leicester. But when we agreed to play Leicester, we weren't expecting them to get relegated. So I think the games are supposed to be a step up each time leading up to the season. Then you got Roma. I know Roma hasn't happened now, but and then as Roma ends, we've got Shakhtar Donetsk, they're a good side. They're a Champions League team. And then you've got Barcelona. So if you notice, it's like a rising level every time we play the next game. Obviously, it hasn't worked out in that way because Leicester got relegated and Roma got cancelled. But once that's over, yeah, we'll have a more competitive game in Shakhtar and Barcelona and get us ready for Brentford away.
Yeah, which I think will be I think that's going to be a very entertaining game. I mean, yeah. Stop passing it back. Yeah, stop passing it backwards. No backwards passes.
We never stop.
Passes. I don't want to see a pass from our left back to Eric Dyer ever fucking again. Simple as. Right? And those are my 2 swears allotted for the show. Anyway, I would be told off if I didn't point out that you can join the conversation. Join the Patreon, £3 a month. There's a group chat. You can talk to me if you really fancy, or any of the other much more intelligent people who are regularly on the Cheese Room. And there's other things, and there's merch, and there's a ticket share, and all that jazz. So if you like the show and want to support it, £3 a month. There's also exclusive content, exclusive videos, interviews, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff. If you like the show, do that. Anyway, also, subscribe, leave a like. Also, please do go subscribe to Ollie's channel. He's been a splendid guest on the show. Please do.
Thanks very much for having me.
No worries. It's been a pleasure. You've been very cooperative isn't the right word. You've been very informative. Thank you very much. And Owen, you look shattered, mate. But thanks for coming on.
Good today.
I could kind of tell a little bit. Sleep well, mate. You look tired. Thank you for coming on, though.
Yeah. My pleasure, man. Always love being on. Thank you.
No worries, mate. Anyway, all I've got left to say is, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.